This is the beginning of the 45th Keshe Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And today we'll be talking with Mr. Keshe. And today's theme will be peace and how the work of the Keshe Foundation will be carrying on with the theme of peace and what that means for some of what's coming up in 2015 and the future for everyone. Okay, I think without further ado, we'll just move along to Mr. Keshe of Keshe Foundation at the new location of the Spaceship Institute, or at least the new location in Bari, Italy. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good day to you. As we say, I've heard people saying, as Mr. Keshe says, wherever you are, good morning, good evening. So I hope we start the first session of the new year from SSI in a positive and a correct move. Happy New Year to those who have not heard us this year. And hopefully we start a fresh page in the history of the Keshe Foundation. As you know, we are moving ahead with our work in teaching in masses, and we should be able, hopefully by next week or latest the following week, announce all the courses and everything which goes within the teaching of the foundation as part of a university teaching courses. There has been a lot of questions. I have received a lot of requests, scientists around the world who want to be in the first wave of what we call masters, or at least to be participating in the first sessions that they become the teachers of the Institute later on in September. We will respond to you accordingly in due time. And any scientist who's been in touch with us who wanted to be part of the foundation will be responding to you in the coming days too, in calling on if you want to join and when you want to join. I've been asked the question if this is going to be a peace university. In so many ways, yes. We will not develop any technology will harm any human beings. That's one of the ethoses of the foundation. And the peace is the subject of today. This workshop is put together, and all the workshops in the past, in building step by step and making ready for the final push for world peace. If we would have taught what we teach now from the first session, from the first lessons, everything would have looked a bit ridiculous and misty. But now, as all of you have learned step by step, and we carry a large number of people with us in learning and teaching, and scientists around the world testing. Now we from today enter total interaction and change of course for the foundation and application of the technology. Up to now, we set the base, we set the foundation of trying to explain the physical methods of how to do things. From today, we force ahead and we forge ahead with direct application, implication, and use of the technology for peace and forcing peace through new technology. The foundation will announce, as we said, we will have the facilities of the spin-offs within the institute and within the university, financed mainly through and by foundation wherever we can. We have a large number of organizations who have shown support in spin-offs in the fields of speciality, where and how they want to do, in support with the teachings which will start. One of the reasons we taught up to now in this way was to bring as many people as possible around that they can bring in the education further on to masses. We have taught a few thousand people the basic, and a few hundred out of the few thousand will become the teachers. And then the teachers will go back to masses. The whole thing goes on one basis. We teach each other as we learn, and we get guided as is needed. What does this mean? Why we push for peace this way? Why? What's the reason for peace? As we set out and laid out from the beginning, the purpose of the peace on this planet was to teach how man can live without consuming another flesh, another entity. The habit of living on this planet is to eat packages of energy to make it easier to live. We eat vegetables which are already living things to get access to what they have processed that we do not want to do. Eating the way we have done to access energy, for us to have energy to do what we like, has become the habit of this planet. We have two choices: leave the man alone to be on this planet and keep on eating each other and killing each other, and killing other animals or vegetables and the rest, or, as we have taught through CO2 and other technologies which we open in short time, that the man walks away from killing and eating and consuming energy which is already added, saved, or organized by other entities. We eat fish, we eat plants. If we allow this ethos of killing, and which has led to the warmongering of the today we see on the different names and banners and flags, once we take man to space, other creatures of the space become food to man. And now you see the problem. Then there will be no peace. Because man has a habit of eating ready energy packages like a takeaways. And now the lambs of today on earth becomes other creatures of the planet in the universes. And this is why we have started the peace process. Through peace process, to show man you do not need to eat packages of energies and be the cause of war and pain and damaging other souls. This is the talk of today. This is what we have started and we start today. Why we teach how to use what you call Ganses, packages of the plasmas as energies, rather than eating another package's life, which is decision making, which has a soul. A plant has a soul, a lamb has a soul. A fish has a soul. Killing another man, not to consume his flesh, but to have superiority, is another consumption of energy by killing. And this has to stop. Once the man learns this, then we can allow you to enter into universal community and to space. Because what happens once you enter a space, all other creatures of the universe become your food. What would you like to eat next time? As you call it, a Martian, because it's not one of yours. And we have seen in time man has eaten man. So we have no mercy even our own kind in flesh. Now you understand why we push in for a process of peace, hand in hand with exploration of a space for man. When we give you the most advanced technologies, it should be carried by the man with the advanced intellect too. This is the reason why we push and we try to run the science and the ethos of the foundation together. If we allow you to enter into space, prematurely, then we cause huge mess outside. And a lot of effort has been made to stop such a mayhem in space. Does not matter how advanced man becomes, even with the introduction of this technology, man will not be allowed to enter into the space beyond the boundary of this solar system unless man changes his habit. As I said to our American friends, we have seen the mayhem in Paris in past week. We do not get on the bandwagon, as I said to the core team. We have to be able to be above this and work in the background through the direct attraction and interaction with the soul of man. As I said to our American friends, they don't even remember why they're carrying a gun. The technology and the knowledge is here, but the man has to be ready to accept it. Why do we see men being killed in their offices? Why see men being killed in shopping centers? Why we see different people, maybe deliberately or set up, are killed to create mayhem on the name of different beliefs? These all have been done under one purpose: to accumulate wealth which was nothing, and at the same time show the power of who's more powerful. The mayhem we've seen in the past week, and as I informed a number of national governments, this is going to go beyond even what we've seen recently. We could see coming up when the 45 days wars within Palestine happened. Fathers were killed, children have no parents to guide. Fathers lost their children, they have nothing to lose. Mothers have lost their sons and their daughters, they have no more to lose. The only thing they have left is in the false belief they believe by killing others they can reach a point that this shall not be done. And there are those who abuse this weakness. What we see in Middle East, a few hundred, has become tens of thousands, has come out of the bombing of Palestine. And in response to their sorrow and their loss. There is something which Christianity never understood about Islam. In Christianity, there are focal points. You have Vatican and you have churches. In Islam, people carry their emotions in their heart. They are not devoted to no one but one name. And they see each other as one. This does not exist in Christianity. The West has not understood the working of Islam through the heart of people, which affects their emotion. And this is where the mayhem is going to come. This is a time bomb sitting among and within all the nations around the world. People who are devoted to their belief. And their belief is one thing: brotherhood. Means I carry the pain of another man. In none other religion but Islam such a thing exists. And the West has never understood. And this is where the problem sits, and this is what we said. We know we have the technology to reach both sides of the fence, the one who did not understand and the one who understands and uses it wrongly, to bring balance and peace. The peace will become our ultimate goal. And on the other hand, the peace will come with technology. A lot of organizations speak about peace, but it's just what I call a voice box. With us, we have the technology to enforce it, and from today we enforce it. Being cleanup, being reprocessing, being energy, being teaching, being medical, being interacting directly with governments. Today I have signed before the start of this session the agreement with the Japanese government for procedures to start the whole process. Our active involvement with the Japanese government has started today as it was waiting for my signature. The way we collaborate with Japanese, we will collaborate with any other nation. There is a very important point. Peace has to come hand in hand with the ethos of why and how and the reason. Peace cannot come just because we say so and we want to. As I've said before, with the stroke of a pen, I can arrange peace. With the release of one technology, we can release peace. But man will evolve and will use and abuse the new technology. We have to get the man to accept the ethos of peace within the emotional section of his brain. Not by force, and not by intimidation, and not by punishment. The Foundation has the technology to enforce it. But unfortunately, on this planet, there is called evolution. You evolve. If we put in your brain that there is no need to kill, then man will understand, does not matter what tools and where he is, killing and destruction is wrong, and will literally walk away from it. We've seen the greed of man on this planet for a few pieces of yellow stone, what you call gold, and a few who like to call themselves powerful. If we show you the space, gold is nothing, and secondly, the power is so immense that these people, if they try to abuse it, then we have mayhem. So, in a way, man's behavior has confined man to prison of this planet. Those who go around and talk about the aliens and all sorts of things, change the name of alien. It's the same as what we call Coulomb's barrier or atmosphere, if you're talking about an atom or the earth condition. We choose the wrong word, aliens or foreigners. It's the same meaning. We choose foreigners because we put the national borders, imaginary line to abuse the others, or we call them that they abuse us, suppress us. Now we use the word aliens for the borders beyond the atmosphere of this planet. But it's the same thing. Something which I always say to people, you are a foreigner once you cross your own village, your own house, your own boundary of what you call your nation. So we are all foreigners in respect to each other, and we are all home at the same time. If we cannot live with each other in peace, then our neighbors beyond this solar system will have the same problem as with us. Then we say they suppress us. They are trying to overrule us. That's why we teach this way, that you become equal and understand. We start radical teaching from today, from this week. You will see how directly we put the technologies on the table. Patents don't exist. There are a number of cases which we ask. We know there are scientists in the background who are sitting and can do the job. You all have been looking for CO2 Gans or copper oxide Gans for energy and other bits. Now I open a new dimension into the whole work. You know that we are selling and we have commercialized the CO2 packages around the world, and it's getting done in China in a mass in the coming weeks. Now, what are the uses application of CO2 beyond what you have applied up to now? We are using part of this technology in decontamination with the Japanese government through different processes. Now we open a new door of application. One of the biggest problems with this planet at the moment is the contamination through the use of fuel, fossil fuel. We see heavy environments over big cities which are what we call contaminated with different kind of pollutions. A new way, a new approach. Add the CO2 as a liquid to the present fuels in your fuel tanks. Let us know the outcome. The procedure is very simple. CO2 will add into the combustion, and you can add the CO2 gas into the liquid cooling system of the oil too. It will become a nano-material in the right places and reduces friction. In the fuel, as it comes out of the exhaust, it becomes part of the absorption of the heavy metals within the fuel. Increases the efficiency and reduces fuel consumption. Cleaning up the cities becomes much more easier. But now is how we're going to collect what comes out as CO2 plus other materials which land on the ground. You have a solid mass. The way the CO2 and we shown copper oxide interacted with the contamination in Japan, now this can be applied further into the industrial applications. One of the things which you have not understood and now we put on the table is what I explained to you before. Do not work in 2 dimensions, work in 1 dimension. Work in matter or work in plasma or work in a Gans or a gas, what they call nano layers. I had a beautiful talk with Armand last night. I've been telling Armand and Marco and in so many ways to you lot, but you never understood. But as Armand is adventurous and what I call a free spirit in this technology, he applied nano layer coated wires instead of normal wires to CO2 set. And he said, I'm producing so much amino acids, so much fat on the top is unbelievable. So much is getting produced. He has moved to the next step. If you want to see lift in your systems, if you want to see interaction of the plasma within your systems, connect your reactors through nano-coated tubes so the plasma can flow and balance itself. Or you can control the balance of the plasma. We showed this originally at the beginning of these teachings in the lab to the students, but they did not understand, the knowledge seekers. But now, use what you have produced as plasma in the center cores of your star formation, connect the cores together through nano-coated tubes, where the plasma can travel without the loss and does not change into matter state. As we say, good morning. You will achieve flight. This was one of the keys missing in the operation of your reactors. You need to enter space in a correct way. You cannot do half of one and half of the other. One of the reasons you cannot concentrate your plasmas or direction of flow is because you cannot influence the plasma direction of the motion. Now, Take your technology and knowledge one step further. People in NASA and the Russian Space Agency and the Iranian Space Agency now understand what was missing in their flight system. You cannot connect matter into plasma and expect to see a performance of a plasma as the universe does. You cannot contain plasma in a matter state container. If you understood, you know where is your pitfall and why you're not flying and why you're not producing huge energies. I said I opened the door, and from today all the doors will be open so radically, so rapidly, that will force governments and people to do what they did not want to do. Get yourself plastic tubes. You do not need copper. Steam coat them in caustic that they get fully nano-coat layers. As you know, you can coat plastic and use it as a channel to control the plasma in your cores. Then you decide the position of the free plasma in the center of star formation and its strength. It's upon you to decide where you're going to position this pipe and what efficiency you're looking for. The game has changed. Yes.
Would that pipe have to tie into the core of each reactor, or just in the vicinity of the plasma or free plasma of the...
Try both, you will see.
Okay.
I was teaching this in a small version to Sohail and his team in China in the last few days. You should, if you understood, you should be able to achieve flight condition in a matter of hours or days. This way, you walk away from the motors and rotation of the motors, because the plasma connection internally through your connections will dictate the speed of rotation and position according to where and how you want to control it. Then you understand there is no need for, once you start the rotation, for the motors to run as such. The problem has been we had to start from a base and build up. As I said, we started with caustics, in nano layering, in creating Gans, and now producing the reactors, now coming into operation of applying the reactors for energy and other applications. You have to understand what you're dealing with and understand just a little bit of working of cosmology. Then the rest is free. This applies the same to work of Dr. Elia. Plasma transfer in the body of the man through the blood is not so important. It's the lining of blood vessels which are nano-coated and allow the transfer. Very much like the plastic tubes which are nano-coated. The walls of the blood vessels and nervous system is not matter state, it's a Gans state. It's literally solid between the nano and a Gans state. And according to the thickness and according to their strength, they allow what material can pass through, for which part of the body, for what material. Then the world of medicine becomes very easy to handle. Then you understand why you create cancer cells in some parts and not in the others. then you understand how the gap in between the nano layers, nano cells, dictates what material and what condition is needed for production of what cell as a muscle for which part of the body. Intellectual people like Dr. Elio who understand the process will walk through with this.
Then to repair a man,
Pardon?
then to repair a man, it's very easy.
Good morning, Armin. You've done the test yesterday and you've seen you become a creator. The problem is we dismantle the old order to bring the new, but through the understanding of peace and equality. No child is needed to be born on the pavements in somewhere in India and then the child be fed in the lap of luxury in another part of the world. The whole process will come that everybody will have access to full technology. And the knowledge of it is so easy that it becomes second nature to every man, so no man can abuse another man. The peace process in reality starts from today. We release knowledge on such a rapid way that will force changes. Start using nano layers, nano coated tubes, and start understanding the process of interaction of the plasmas. Then you will understand how easy you will achieve lift. We got to open the speaker somewhere. Let us talk about something in a very simple way. We got to open, somebody has left the speaker. Hello? Are we there? So it's
Yes.
gonna.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now we understand what we got to do and how it's got to be achieved. The size of a ping ball. The ping pong ball, you have 4 reactors in, should be able to be the size of your reactors for application in a car. We've seen the rapid reduction in the use of, in the price of oil in past few weeks. Those who are aware, they know what this means and what is the plan. We understand how it's done and why it's done. In a very short time, if this situation is not controlled, will lead to a mayhem that the few cents price reductions will become a nightmare for every man on this planet. So, you have the CO2 Gans as energy, use it that you're not dependent on oil. Or mix it and let us know the results. And we see reduction in the air pollution in big cities. Interesting enough, if you can collect what comes out of the exhaust, you'll be a very rich man. The motor systems, the air combustion system, is one of the easiest way to produce material in conjunction with CO2 gas or copper oxide or any other gases. Depends what you want to collect when it comes out. If it's used the right way, you will achieve 70 to 80% reduction in the fuel consumption. But you have to develop the technology. This is one of the jobs of the spin-offs in the Institute once we open in the next few weeks. A lot of people have been asking us, what are we going to do with the CO2s we collect? Temporarily use them in your motor cars and let us know. And whatever you save, put back in humanity, not buying a better car and more fancy clothing. You got to realize CO2, copper oxide, any material you change into a Gans is a star on its own. Every single one is an energy pack. How do you want to use it? Those of you with a mechanical mind and have access to a spare engine car, try some and let us know.
Just mixing with the gas?
Yes, of course.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Get your exhaust. Collect your exhaust, see what comes out.
Okay.
Don't forget, in your exhaust pipes, in the housing of the exhaust pipes, there is always a moisture. Most of your material will land in there before it comes out of the exhaust. Look at your fuel efficiency. If you can do 10 kilometers with 1 liter, or you can do 12 or 15 or 20 kilometers. But you have to get the right ratio of CO2. And it costs nothing what you collect. I know, Arman, you have killed tons of liters of it somewhere.
No, come on, Mr. Keshe, don't exaggerate. Half of it I already dried it, so.
According to Vince, you have barrels of it somewhere.
That Vince is exaggerating it.
We know
That
our
was a
Chinese.
caustic, and it was 45-gallon drum barrels.
Yes, caustic.
But we know our Chinese colleagues have some as well. We know in China there is large quantities amongst people, and some people who we're testing heavily. They have offered it already to the foundation. You'll find out that the Gans not only stops but links up with the heavy metals to absorb and will land in the exhaust pipe. So it will not go. You have to clean up the exhaust pipe and use these heavy materials, these heavy metals or whatever, that because CO2 is in the Gans state of the CO2 which comes out of the exhaust and is the same, it will link up and becomes part of the matter of the CO2 Gans. So you will not release any more CO2 as such into the environment. It's the same thing as when you put a nano copper coated and a copper plate in the same container. You do not produce as much CO2, but you release all the copper oxide Gans material. CO2, when it's added to the fuel, because it's of the same strength of the CO2 which gets rejected by the exhaust, it becomes part of the energy of this Gans. So you have a stronger, powerful Gans within your structure. And it comes out, so you don't leak any CO2 exhaust out. This needs a very good, what do you call it? No, we know what a study is. We know what the results are. It's tuning. It's a ratio amount tuning. Because the car is always in the motion, CO2, it gets mixed within the fuel. It does not sit at the bottom, where copper oxide does. So your CO2 links up with the CO2 of the burning of the fuel will link up with the Gans CO2 itself, because they're of the same. And as you do not put CO2 in air pollution, like in cities like in what you call Beijing, are not there to attach themselves to the other elements to create the smog which you see in the air in the big cities.
But then you have to redesign the exhaust systems that you can easily collect the material as you drive.
Maybe, yes, depends if you want a new fertilizer. In a way, if you collect it, you put it back in with the next fuel, so it becomes stronger next time.
You could hang a tin can on your tailpipe and it would probably be adequate to collect the moisture that drips out, actually.
I leave it to your knowledge. What
But
will show this? We'll show this as a spin-off in the new university.
Mr. Keshe, what's the ratio we should mix?
Depends on what oil you're using. Look at the ratio of the oil on top of your CO2 containers to the CO2 you collect. Don't forget the oil you use is the oil which is on the top, which is mixed and become a fuel. If you understand the process. You created the CO2 Gans, and in the process you created the fat on the top, which that fat is the oil which you are burning in your exhaust. So you are mixing it together. Look at the ratio, it should give you a guideline.
You should wash it with the water, or you just leave it as a salt?
You have to wash it, otherwise you put salt in your system.
Okay.
Once you wash it, once it's processed, you receive a pure session. Look at the process. The CO2 which comes out of the combustion engines, the CO2 which comes out of the lung of the man, the CO2 which gets rejected by the plant, is all linked up to the amino acid.
Okay.
The ratio should be very easy. You should see what you collect, you should see what you release. And then if you collect any gold and silver, don't forget the central banks. They need it. Now you understand the process. Now we interfere directly with the process of the helping what the man has done wrong. Oil companies can't blame you because you're helping to clean up the system. Very soon they'll add. You go in the fuel station, they say diesel with CO2. We bring Gans as part of the natural process of life as it is and has been, and man never understood. One of the first researchers will do in the new institute is the consumption of the CO2 as a food-based industry. We will measure it, we'll assess it, we'll confirm it, and then we'll give it to the hand of the government to release it to people. That's the beauty of becoming part of this such a fast way as part of the university. You can do all sorts of research. In the center, institute, in the university, there is a floor especially for medical applications. We invite all the doctors to come in and test their specialty. It'll be headed by Dr. Elia, as has been there. So we open. There is no operation. You won't see any operating tables. It's just application of the new technology. And we have a very good team of with Professor Lutzi which can support the technological development of the medical side. Will support the same way production of new materials for peaceful application, the same way new systems for energy for different applications. They'll be done by the researchers and not by what I call a single person. The development of the new medical systems will be announced by the Italian Keshe Foundation health section regarding fibromyalgia systems within the next 3 to 4 weeks. These systems will be produced in conjunction with the Italians on the health section and will be monitored through the operation with Dr. Elia as a full observation research. We expect to release something like 200,000 to 300,000 units in the first year. Anybody who's been suffering from fibromyalgia, you can go directly to the research section of the Keshe Foundation, and in conjunction with the doctors, the facilities are made that the price for the systems become low enough to become affordable by most of the people. The units for what we call back injuries will become a standard unit, which will be supplied through the Keshe Foundation Italy on the medical section in the next few weeks. So we are releasing everything in one go in different directions. I was talking to Sohail, they are researching on new ways of measuring plasma. I explained to them how they have to measure the magnev, so in what they develop. What Sohail is heading as a research in China will become more or less the commercialized side section of the Keshe Foundation with a full support from here, with whatever we develop in the institute and in the university. In the coming days and weeks, we will show how we will use the system for enforcing peace, indirectly influencing the thought of man. If we do not come to an agreement in a very short time with 2 or 3 governments to be able to start, in mid-February we'll start the process by the Keshe Foundations around the world. The technology to do so has already been discussed with the Italians and will be produced in Italy initially. What we call the peace systems will be delivered within weeks from the Keshe Foundation Italy, and then it will be handed over to 2 sections, one in Sohail in China and one here in Italy, where we have a full control of hundreds of these to be around to influence every corner of mentality of the man to forget the war. I have built these systems. Now the only thing is we are handing it over for commercialization. The CO2 was just a beginning. It took us a few weeks to get it organized, to be done. Now it's in the hand of capable team in China. We've seen it getting and delivered. I've seen a lot of negative and a lot of what you call wrong things about the foundation on the internet. We do not care, we do not pay much attention. These are a bunch of what I call schizophrenics who have to find somebody to confirm their own existence. Those who made the threat will match them with the same, with love and care. And those who make all sorts of problems for themselves and the others, they have to answer to their own souls. There will be no punishment, only we give you love and care till your own soul changes. And then your behavior changes. We start the world peace as of today as we said, we'll go back to every individual. We teach you how to make things. Now I open a new door to you. Start using the CO2 beyond the boundary of the course. Chinese have done with vegetation. Now add it to fuel. Add it to paints. You find out you do not need thermal resistance papers anymore. You do not need to make heat resistance materials to warm your house. Or leave it to us to do it the safe way, and then we tell you how to do it. You have to do most of the research. When we say try it, it's not for ordinary people. Those of us scientifically orientated or would like to add to the knowledge of man and then share it with the man and let us know what the results are. Use the forum of the Keshe Foundation for any new development you have achieved. Keshe Foundation Forum has been built for this. We diverted the attention from it because of the attacks which were put on the foundation website and the server. We brought everything to Skypes and into Facebook and live stream to take the pressure off our servers. But if you find anything new, if you're looking for new development, if you want to discuss, instead of doing it in different chat rooms, use the forum of the Keshe Foundation. We monitor it, it's monitored by the people who understand our security systems on it. If you do not abuse it, use it as a place of exchange of information and knowledge, the way it used to be.
Mr. Keshe, I have a quick question. You suggest using CO2 in paints. Is it gonna be dangerous for the human health?
Good morning, Ludmil.
Good morning.
Yes, you're eating, so you're drinking. I know you love Coca-Cola and Fanta. Is the CO2 in the Coca-Cola bottle dangerous for you?
Well, I don't know. I'm one of these Americans which probably don't drink a bottle of Coca-Cola for a year, but
But the last time you drank, you're still alive. Did it kill you?
it didn't, but wasn't in Gans form.
So what's the difference? It's still CO2. Did, when they produced, as Einstein said, managed, and they got a Nobel Prize for it, made the gas into a solid state, did it kill the people? This is the fear which is put into man for control. You drink it as a gas. You breathe it in the pollution of the air. It is part of the structure of your body. It's rejected by your body. Does the CO2 which is in the lung, in your lung, has killed you as a Gans?
One time,
Test it.
maybe.
Oh, it all depends on how you use it and how you drink it. We don't encourage eating it, but we say to the researchers who are working, test it, and then let everybody else know. But it's a simple question. Why should plasma of a matter which you eat, you breathe, do any harms to you? Unless you're ignorant and you want to use it as a way to confirm your existence by putting fear on the back of other people. If the governments use the Gans, even the Americans, NASA Space is using propulsion systems of the plasma, use the Gans, they'll find out they'll reach a much more higher efficiency. One of the astronauts, most flown astronauts in US, in NASA, is responsible for this plasma propulsion system. He's been given a job because now he can't fly anymore. He's from South America, we know him. And our advice to him is very simple. Use Gans in your plasma. You'll find a very effective way of producing energy. The absorption of Gans in a CO2 state is part of natural process of your own body. How come now it's dangerous to touch it? Your body contains salt, your body contains nanomaterial in the state of Gans, and your body absorbs energy from the environment and the fat on your skin. Don't your body extract CO2 from the environment? Or is your structure any different than the leaf of a tree, which extracts CO2 in a Gans state? As you've seen in the CO2 boxes. And you're still alive. Or are we in the dogma of the past? As I said in the last talk. To tell people it's dangerous and then extract it for the use for something else, as was done with uranium. Your body lives, operates and breathes through CO2 extraction and exhaust. How come suddenly it's dangerous? Is a source of energy, is a natural source of energy used on this planet. How come suddenly it's dangerous? Unless for those who make these accusations, because this way they confirm their own meager existence, that they exist and they did something. If it is dangerous, stop eating leaves. Stop eating any plants because it's full of it. Without CO2 in the plant, you don't exist. Or you don't understand what you're talking about. The scientists, the ones who try to protect their position, they tell you that the plants absorb CO2. We have shown it how it absorbs and what it becomes. And it's the same color. So every time you eat a leaf of any kind of herb or plant or whatever, it's already full of gas of CO2. It's part of the energy you absorb from the plant when you eat it. They don't pick all the plants during the daytime. And part of the structure that the plant stays green and fresh till you eat it is the structure of the CO2 in it, in the Gans state. You've been eating it, living it, from the time you were born and inside in the womb of your mother. Now it's become dangerous. Because if you know how to use its property, you do not need to eat the plant. You did not need to eat another animal. You can use its energy directly as it is. This is not new. Go back to my first talks, go back to SSI, what is a spaceship program, years ago on the internet. We said, and it's in my talks, that we use for man what he excels as CO2 to feed him that his stomach will not bleed. And that's why the man will be source of his own food. Go back into the interviews and the presentations I've done over the past 3-4 years. You could not understand at that time when I said it, now you understand. It has a solid state that the body of the man, the stomach of the man can absorb, and he has the energy to release when he reaches it. Exactly as you're eating a vegetable. But let the scientists check it and they tell you, then you believe it, because that way they can control you. We leave it to the recommendation of the scientists and governments. But this is a teaching, this is not for public. Let the scientists in Los Alamos, in the Russian Space Agency, for feeding the astronauts, and the Chinese for feeding the population, and the Indians for feeding hunger on the streets of Delhi, to test it very rapidly. We have clean air cities and we have no hunger on the streets. And people will be very happy to drive cars as much as they can, because the more CO2 they put out, the more food they produce. I told you we'll change everything, and the change has started from today. Fundamental change. You had a year of learning. Next week is a year, next month is a year since SSI has been established, on the 15th of February last year. And we start talking and teaching with Rick nearly a year ago this week, or sometime around this time. So we've been teaching for 1 year. Now it's time to harvest the knowledge. Now there are enough human beings to be able to carry the flag of development of a new cycle. If you keep people ignorant, you can abuse them. And this is what it is. And if you educate a lot, then nobody can abuse it. This goes back to a very thing. One of the things which affected me from my childhood is what I go back to where I was brought up and the nation I was brought up as Iran. During the early 60s, 70s, the Shah of Iran came up with one solution. Iran is a peaceful nation. So we did not need to cross any borders. We haven't done for that time nearly 250 years. But we had an army. Every Iranian had to be a national soldier for 2 years of their life, after the age of 18. What do you do when you have a surplus of people just coming for 2 years to sit in camps? The Shah of Iran, with the advice of His Majesty and Her Majesty Farah, and with the advice of the Prime Minister of Iran, they came up with a fantastic solution, what they call the White Revolution, or a peace revolution. And that was, we keep the soldiers for 2 months in the camps to teach them how to use arms. And the ones who are educated as what they call biology, they become doctors. The ones who are educated and at the diploma with maths, they become engineers. And the ones who did culture and literature, they become teachers. And after 2 months, they were trained for another 2-3 months. And now the soldiers were put back in the villages where Iran at 1960s, 1970s had 95% illiteracy. 5% of the nation were carrying 95% of illiterates. And within a matter of less than 10 years, the engineers built the schools. The people, students who were in the camp for 2 years, they became teachers and they educated the children freely in the villages. And the ones who did biology became doctors and health people, and they supported the health of the nation. And that was a peace dividend. That was a true peace dividend from a nation who never took arms. And now, what you see on the back of that teaching, 95% of the Iranian became educated. And now you have a nation who's leading in nuclear, in nanotechnology and different aspects. The backbone was the peace dividend of the time. And now, with the wisdom of His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei, this knowledge, this what was put as a foundation was harvested fully. Devoting a nation which does not need to make arms to educate. And now we've seen how advanced Iran is. This should become the cycle for humanity. A few of us who understand become the backbone to teach the ones who don't, and through it we carry the other 95%. And then they teach themselves and they carry themselves. Things don't happen just because we wish. We have to work for it and do it. I put my life on it for past 15 years. Now there is thousands of people around the world. Now we bring it to a university. And then through you, we teach the rest that the man understands does not need to eat another man, another animal. They have their cycle, they have their life. But as human, we can change things. And in achieving that, then we can change peace, and then we are allowed to enter in the dimension which is beyond the boundary of our understanding. A few soldiers change the nation. A few men will change the humanity. Start looking in the application of the Gans in the structure of every aspect of the work. Not just for energy. Not just for lift. If you can mix with the different mixtures of water and different kind of gases, which are absorbable and can give the right energy to the body of the man, will stop the man from hunger of eating and will change his behavior.
Mr. Keshe, what about the fat on top?
The fat on top, you do not produce fat. That's the amino acid which has come together. It has not got a life till it becomes part of adding to another material. You can keep it in the energy level. It's an amino acid, it's a chemical reaction, but in the plasma level. It's the Gans, but in a matter state. When you add a metal or element to it, then it has to interact to accommodate, and it needs to link up. Then it creates intelligence, because it creates replication. Most of the fat you have or amino acid you have is a pure amino acid, means it has its individual parts. It has not replicated. It's just that there's so much of it, there's so many leaves on the surface of the water. The life starts when it links up with an element, and then it starts a cycle of reproduction. In so many ways, even the Gans has a soul, but it sits within its structure. And that's why it does not link up, stays individual. Somebody's running a motor in the background.
I've got a question, and my reactor's running in the background here. About that, the Gans is like its own individual entity, you could say. Now, I'm trying to tie this back into the question of plants and animals, and whether people should be vegetarian or not, and whether we should be eating animals as a species. And now, aren't we eating, if we're eating the Gans, would we not be, or even the fats and so on, would we not be eating created life forms in the same manner? And I'm trying to get to the question of does it matter?
No, I
Does it
understand. It's
matter
an ethical
really?
question. I understand what you're trying to get to. The position is, even a stone, even an atom, has a soul. The soul, it means it has an entity to hold on to its own structure. I go a step further because this is part of adding to the knowledge. When you consume Gans, you do not destroy the Gans. When it's within your body, it leaves part of the energy it does not need. It's very much like the Gans you have in your reactors. You put the Gans, you open the reactor, you get the Gans. The stomach of the man does not have the capability to convert a Gans to a matter state. So what you absorb from it is the energy is prepared and it releases to you. You do not change the integrity of it. The whole process of cycle of life is to absorb energy to be able to convert. It's your body which converts the energy to what it needs. That's why you have limbs.
So, Mr. Kesh, it's like it's the breakdown of the entityness of something into components is almost the act that's not correct in a way, or like how do we determine what entities are okay to break down and which are not in that sense? You know?
It's a process of you don't break down anymore. It's the process of you take what the system is prepared to give you. It's very much, it's like when you eat food, you don't absorb all its elements. And you reject what is not needed as a stew. In a Gans state, it's the same. It gives you the energy it needs to give and it gets rejected. And your body takes different. Don't forget, just because you look at the CO2, they are not all of the same strength. There's a mixture of them. So your body uses different mixture. In fact, you don't break down. You collect what they are ready to release to you. You don't harm no one. In a way, it's the offering made, and your body takes what that offering is available. Exactly what Marco says.
What's
Do you want to repeat it? Armand, Marco says you take as much as you need when you need it. This way you end up you still drink and eat. You can make the Gans in the shape of bread or meat to gives you what I call visual satisfaction. Then you learn you don't eat another part. You don't eat another animal. Then we can enter into space with a peace of mind. The process is very simple. No one had any idea about what we call new food system and new food processes. All has been introduced in past 10, 20, 30 years. Now we have to learn a new method of producing nourishment without harming something else. And if we can do that, then we get the behavior and reach the behavior of not needing to destroy. I've given a lot of time this example between the Indians and Pakistanis, how the same brothers taken different type of path of consumption of food, and they have ended up with different behavior. Now that we introduced this newest way of, natural way of conversion of energy, then we'll go back to become maybe better than the Indians in belief not to harm. Very much we go back to the ethos of the Japanese, where they sit at the moment, in respect to their defense, because they learned it the harsh way. The man has been through and will go through Hiroshima in totality, and then will come out of it as Japan, will not carry arms, even though the new government is trying to push to match the others. Start testing, developing the Gans, because it's part of your nature, natural process. And give it to the scientists to test it, to measure it. I know new testing tools are getting done by Sohail. He's collaborating with the scientists which have been introduced to him. I know our Italian colleagues here have all the facilities that they will start a new development of the Gans measurement tools. And the collaboration will come hopefully when we go further with what we sign in with the Japanese today. It has to become, and the new institute in Bari will become the center focal point of scientist communication and development. We have some nearly 2,000 rooms to accommodate all the scientists around the world. In every aspect, they can communicate, talk, deliver, come and go, and do what they like to achieve peace and to develop new technologies. There are steps taken and they've been tried to stop the foundation, as we told you before. We even have seen it yesterday. As you know, we go back to this is a warning to the Belgian government officials. As you know, they've been trying to issue a warrant for different things, and now they start the procedure that we are selling goods that we don't deliver. And we have sent CO2 units to Belgium, which with a false address has not been delivered, to say that we don't deliver. The packages are back with us. We are putting it in public, and the people who bought it never received it, who work with the Belgian agencies, we put it in public. No small nation as Belgium can stop the progress of humanity. These systems were deliberately ordered to show that we don't deliver. They did not accept it, that they can accuse as part of the procedure for fraud. We put their names and the address of these people in public on the internet. They have to say why they did not collect their units. And strange enough, only Belgium has returned packages. This is another fraud step taken by the police of Belgium and the royal family. But that's their problem. We pray for their souls. A few rogue elements should not change the course of humanity. A few people who go and do mayhem should not stop the course of understanding another culture. We have a problem in understanding our own brothers' way of thinking and accepting and living. How are we going to accept a new cultures in space? This is the problems of the world leaders. What they have on their hands in Syria and Iraq is nothing compared to what is to come. If you move beyond the boundary of this space and you see another entity as food, God help you. They have enough knowledge to make you energy source for their own food. They won't kill you, but if you become a Gans, you're an energy source. You made a step. You made a mistake. You can't blame nobody for it. So, we start
Yes,
the
better to do it the
process.
correct way.
They don't need to do it the correct way. You
No,
volunteer to
for us
become
to do it
food.
the correct way. We
In a
should
way,
do it correctly, the correct way.
in a way, in a way. Now you understand where we are going and why we call today is a peace, the first step towards peace. This peace is needed, not only military, but the peace of mind, peace of being able to live amongst each other without looking at each other and animals as food resources. Then when we are at peace, we can open the space. From now on is the man who puts a limit on the time of his openness into space, not us. Now we open the institutes and universities to teach, and the teachers are you who understood fully from the beginning. I've received emails from some of the most eminent scientists around the world who've been looking at the foundation for years. Now they're declaring their hand. They're ready to join in to develop. Some of the top scientists around the world are sitting to do so. And we invited them in. A lot of you know we are in negotiation with the American government in respect to transfer of technology, not the transfer, but teaching of the technology to American scientists at the highest level. The travel was denied due to security. There is a caliber that their movement is protected by their nation. We respect that. I suggested to them, we come to you or open the secure channels, we teach you on the live channels, Skypes or secure channels of communication. That no nation has to put its scientists at risk. We've done the same with the Iranian government, we've done the same with the Chinese. And our channel of communication and development has opened up with the Japanese on the same manner. The knowledge seekers who've been here or will be here will not receive the same kind of teaching as the first group has. Because from now on you teach each other. And I become a background. We teach the masters to teach the others. Those who came and then they thought they became enemies through their wrong behavior and wrong doings and wrong putting things out, they have shown actually how correct we've been. They served us better than outside than inside. And those who stay close with the foundation and they get taught directly, they become the masters of the future to teach more. And in the background, I'm trying to teach to the core team, the core peace team, how they have to behave in respect to the others. They have to become the guardians of the soul to elevate their physicality. Not get entangled in running off the operation of the reactors. Any questions?
Thank you for that, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I don't have any particular questions in the GoToMeeting. Rick, did you have anything on your side? I know there was a question in my email I got to get to. So
I believe there was some things. Well, Does Armin have anything else he wants to say about his Gans setup that he had? We had showed the pictures of it. He wanted me to show the pictures, and I'm not sure if he had
Mr. Keshe, you asked me to show
comment.
pictures that you can explain in a workshop. So I asked Rick to show the pictures.
So, like that's one of them that's on right at this moment.
Is Mr. Keshe around?
Yes, I'm listening and I'm looking.
But perhaps we would like to continue with the peace theme in a deeper way. It could be interesting as well.
I see a lot of comments. It says, be a peaceful Gans eater. Yeah, and they want the Gans smoothies and the rest. You will make all these things. You don't need to be afraid of it. In time, you will develop your own things of doing. You have to now open the doors of knowledge yourselves. Start, when you make materials, start mixing the Gans within the structure of the materials. They become energy sources for your material. If you can add Ganses into fiber, you will find out you will receive the warmth of the Gans without much need for clothing. Start mixing the Gans materials into the structure of the buildings. It's a new world, it's a new way. And if you can, the way Arman does, dry it and mix it and gel it back together in so many ways, you have new superconductors you could not even imagine at room temperature. Arman, can you show us the tube you were showing me yesterday of the CO2 you have?
Yes, 1 minute, Mr. Keshe.
Yeah.
Here, I'm showing.
Can you put it on the live stream? Because we see it on the Skype.
Rick, what you want me to do? Just take a picture and send it to you that you can share?
Just hold it right there. Yeah, just hold it right there. Don't move it. Remember how Mr. Keshe was talking about holding a watermelon for a week? You got to do that, okay?
Okay, hold on for a week. I'll miss my. Here, I will change the. Oh, no.
Yeah, it should be coming through the live stream.
Can you shake it? They can see the powder?
Yeah.
He has 20 grams of it.
And is that completely dried, like Armin?
Completely dry, and it's slow drying. Under the light. You have a light on top, so it speeds up drying, and it's natural way.
Now you can mix it the way you want.
Okay.
You can use it
How
as a...
will it mix with alcohol at that point? That would be a question. That's something that I'd like to try, because then
Why?
the alcohol
You like
would
strong
mix. No, because the alcohol would mix with gasoline in a better way than water would. Water would not mix with the gasoline, where alcohol will.
Try it. We tried the Gans with all sorts of things, but it never dissolved. But you can paste it, use as a paste.
But the idea you brought up with alcohol is interesting. What if there was a Gans-based alcohol? Gans beer.
Don't tell that to
I
Luke.
think you get drunk very fast.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You would maybe it would be beneficial in that wouldn't be as harmful because it would give you the effects with a much smaller amount or something. Of course, people want
Yeah,
to
you start
indulge
running
even
like
more
a
that way.
rabbit, and then you.
Sounds. I don't think that would work. Maybe we should forget about Gans beer altogether.
Don't worry, Ludmila already gonna test. He was dreaming whiskey Gans.
Whiskey.
Well, if you have beer and pretzels, and you happen to be working with Gans at the time and licking your fingers, well, who knows what could happen. Anyways, it's an interesting topic, and I'm sure we'll find out a lot more about this in the coming year here. There's so many people experimenting and wanting to know more about that, the health issues and benefits, and we need to get more professional opinions on that and various tests done. This is great. The way it's going.
Yes, this is one of the reasons that the present systems will not show us the real work of the GANs, because the present systems only measures magnetic field in one direction, where the GANs has both gravity and magnetic field. Is a total energy system. So it's very difficult to, literally impossible to measure the effect of a GANs or a plasma with a single direction system, like radiation detectors or field detectors. The system has to be in a way that measures the environment of a plasma of a GANs. This can be done, and we have already taken the steps to produce such a system with Professor Luzzi in Italy.
About a question about that, Mr. Keshe. Can the human heart or other organs within the human physicality be sensitive to the GANs such that you could have, let's say, a vial of GANs or some small amount that was, say, close to the heart, as in an amulet, and if it was the same batch of GANs from the reactors, could a human be sensitive to what was going on in the reactors through that connection with a smaller amount of GANs?
Depends on what you call sensitive.
Well, let's say sensitive enough to know whether the free plasma was occurring in the reactors.
Let me rephrase this word sensitive. Each cell can receive, or each organ can receive, certain amount of energy to function within the parameters of its proper working. You have to measure what is the measurement for that organ, that you do not overload it or underload it to receive from it. The word sensitivity is meaningless because you have to say if it is in balance with what it is. Because even all of us have hearts, all our hearts are not made of the same material, the same structure.
So it can't act necessarily just as a sensor, it would be more of a giving or receiving type situation. There would always be some sort of balance trying to be obtained, so it would be hard to act as a simple sensor in the situation, like impartial sensor or something that's doesn't have
You see,
a
we
lot
do not,
attached to it.
at the moment, we do not have the tools, or we don't have a single tool to measure both magnetical and gravitational system at the same time and gives us a balance. This is what I was trying to explain to Sohail and his team yesterday or the day before. What we measure has to be the measurement of both between gravitational field of the cell and magnetical fields, which gives us the balance or gives us the mass of the cell. And then if we have a reference point for this mass, has to be so much to work healthily, then we see if we need to give it or take from it. At the moment, we only measure a current, which is the vibration of electrons, and the body does not have a vibration of electrons. Even though we measure the electric current in a neurosystem. We only measure in a neurosystem with the present systems we have what energy is converted or has become equal to the strength of the motion of an electron. We are now measuring the flow of a plasma current within this nerve system. So we need new systems to develop.
For example, we could probably feel a very large magnetic gravitational field if it suddenly came into being close by. I am assuming that, but we may not be able to feel a very small magnetic gravitational field. Is there a sort of a range that most humans are capable of now, and then maybe we can become more sensitive to the finer fields, the smaller fields? Would that be fair?
We measure the full spectrum with our system as we have with our emotional part and physical part. There is a misconception that the aura of a man is within the boundary of the body of the man. Our aura expands the length of the universe. This is how I always say a mother feels the child is in problem, or a twin feels the other twin is in problem across the world. It depends what we tune ourselves into to feel. In a way, all of us feel others' pain, but our system has tuned itself only to listen to the pain of itself. It's very much if you disconnect the neurosystem of your toe, the toe is still there, you can put a needle in it, but you won't feel it. Because our neurosystem has decided only accepting certain strength as pain through a connection. But it doesn't mean that the pain is not there. We've done the same with the other souls and entities on this planet. We become so selfish that we only would like to feel what we like to feel. Our own pain, but not the others. And as I said in the talk to the core team, or another room, I can't remember where I was writing to, we have a common denominator soul. If man uses the common denominator soul which exists across this planet and the universe, then once you feel the pain of the others, you would not like to have that pain. You do two things. When somebody steps on your toe, you move your toe, or you ask the guy to move that you don't carry the pain. And if you step on somebody's toe that it hurts them, you say, I'm sorry, and you move your foot. We have a full spectrum to receive the full, what I call magraph strength of the universe. It's us who has tuned to a certain length, which just limits us to ourselves and our own physicality. But if we want, and we have established, we allow the line of connection, we feel the pain, the need, the love of our children, our parents, even if they are thousands of kilometers away. It'll be strange, but in reality, in time, the twins, which one is here and one goes to the other side of the galaxy or the universe, will still feel each other's pain. It's not limited to this planet. It's not that if one twin brother is in pain in galaxy Zeus, will not be felt by the brother who's left behind on Earth. It'll be instantaneous. It'll be the same as that is one is in one side of the Earth and the other one on the other side. We have chosen to ignore the pain of the others because it suits us to live and do what we like. So we can detect and measure and be aware of the existence of the smallest entity near to us. It's just us who has to become clear with ourselves.
Okay, thank you for that. There was a question from the live stream. Is there an efficient way to collect the fat that is created on the surface of the static reactors?
Scoop?
I think Armin had a special kind of scoop that he was discussing as well, using, I believe it was a piece of wire, Armin?
No.
Could you elaborate a little?
Hold it. The video is turned off.
Are you showing us something, Ahmed?
I'm trying, but it says video is turned off. So somebody has to turn it off, the video.
Stays.
Okay, so it's like a brush.
Can we see your brush?
Yeah, here. It's not Gans, it's a protein brush.
It's a toothpick. It's a turkey brush.
Turkey brush. It's not nice, it's a plastic. When you just move it, it collects on top of it. And you can dip it in
Yeah,
a
but
container
what
with the water.
about if you put it in a caustic? Or steam it in a caustic, it'll become nano-coated.
Okay.
And would
Yeah.
then connect.
My caustic is finished, Mr. Keshe, and the package that is not arrived yet. So I have a shortage for that.
Just walk to the supermarket, they sell it.
No, they don't. The one that I am ordering, it's a very nice, pure one. So.
Okay, no problem. But in the coming time, I'll show you how to make nano-material and the Gans of materials without the use of caustic. It happens in the nature naturally. On Earth, materials are nano-sized and Gans are produced of them without any caustic. We don't see bath of caustics everywhere on this planet. The process is done in a very natural way, and in the coming time I'll show you how it's done and how you do it.
Okay, thank you for that.
In a way, you've done it in the lab when you were in SSI, but you have never seen it. So I'll show it to you how it's done.
Okay, that will be nice.
Any other question? He says, I have tried the scooping.
The question I had by email, you answered at the beginning.
Yeah?
Yeah, just that was it. It was answered in the beginning. So do we need to nano coat the scoop? You said that the material,
Yes,
the
you have,
amino acids, doesn't
you
touch
have
or
to-
doesn't. Go ahead.
You have to create a nano layer which is in strength of its gravitational magnetic field equal to the magrav of the amino acid. Otherwise, as you know, nano layers move away from, nothing gets attached to them. We can't even solder them. There's a specific way you create a what I call magnet for amino acid. If you look at it, your body does it itself. So it's within the structure of your own human physicality. It's just that you've got to look. He says, why later, Mr. Keshe? Isn't it better if we can progress faster? It's a weapon technology to man if we show you now. Maybe this can answer you. There are certain technologies which are so basic that can be used or abused very fast by those who are in that state of mind. We see them operating around the world and we see them how they abuse it. You got to realize Third Reich has not finished. They're very active and they sit in Austria and Germany, and they are the ones who are this, what do you call it, putting a lot of misinformation and disinformation about the foundation, because they want to carry on with what they did before under a different name. The craziness has not stopped unless we change the total structure of the brain of the man in totality, in a way of thinking. There are those who want to discredit for them to use what is given to achieve superiority of races. We are continuously monitoring and we are observing what is happening. And they all appear in German.
But there's also the other side of that.
Yeah.
If we release the technology fast enough, and the people like ourselves who are very interested to take humanity to the next step, that we do it faster than they can ever imagine.
But the thing is, there are a few thousand people who have started understanding the technology and its application. And there are a few who are very close to understanding part of the principle. And at the same time, there are those who are doing a lot of work, but they are too shy and scared of being known that what they are doing. When we open the university and leave something like maybe in the next 12 months, 100, 200 live streams online that people can see different developments of different technologies, then we will finish with this taboo and these people who are time wasters, what I call them internet terrorists. So we have to be open. Now we have the opportunity to do. The opening of the university, we are moving hopefully the laboratories of the foundation to the new location in the first week of February. We have to relocate all ourselves, and once we reach and start, we'll ask whoever wants to come in to come in. You have to be able to support yourself financially, and at the same time be able to pay, that we can pay for the facilities of using the university. Till the time comes when the commercialization supports the research and teaching. The whole progress will start with a few which we started last year. As I said, we have left with 2, 3, and about a few hundred outside who are very actively involved in developing and doing things. But from next week or so, next 2 weeks, we need to put a structure within the structure, which means we need people, even you don't need to be in Italy. We have a lot of literatures translated in all languages around the world. Books are translated. We need people who can put the books together to make it available for different languages. I know I've seen, we know book number 1 in Spanish is completed by Jorge, who used to be a knowledge seeker here before. We haven't had time to put that into pictures and what you call print. Portuguese have done so. Italians are doing all the paperwork and all the books. Chinese, 3 books is fully translated. They need to be going into publishing. We know book number 1 has been done by the university. We signed agreements with them. The other 2 goes back into the Keshe Foundation China to organize the printing and the publication of it for the foundation. And Mr. Chu has done a lot of work in China. He has to head the Keshe Foundation China, and he's been the original team of the Keshe Foundation. I have a lot of respect for him to organize the commercial side, which sits with Sohail, to start teaching in China. The Indian Keshe Foundation has to do the same. We are working with the Brazilians and we are working with the Russians and Keshe Foundation in different ways. But the literature has to move away from English into every nationality that doesn't become the barrier. The same thing will go with we go back onto what we've done before. Once the knowledge seekers in the master level start in March or April, whenever we can facilitate them in, they have to carry on teaching in their language into their nations every day, every week. This is the only way we grow very rapidly and we bring the science in the hand of every man. One of the first things which is our priority is the use of CO2 as food, as one of the first spin-offs. It's very easy, we can, within weeks and months, using especially like organizations around the world that specialize in evaluation of the food as energy and its safety, will immediately release the technology. The master's spin-off laboratory is already located next to the Keshe Foundation laboratory in the university. There are 2 buildings with 1,000 square meter of laboratory space on 2 floors, which means the people who come as knowledge seekers in masters, and during the morning we do the teaching. In the afternoon, they go into the lab and they set up their own system, and if it is correct, they can start a spin-off in the building next door. Everything has been brought for a rapid development and opening of the technology worldwide. And it's on the open basis. You see what Sohail has done. I see his wonderful work. He's opening the technology to whoever gets in touch with them. They want to commercialize it for the nation. He even, I've seen, given a value of so much to set up a production line in so many countries. He's working on the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. Everything is open. There is no restriction in knowledge and development. We become a new breed. No fear of spreading knowledge because there's so many of us that we can add to it. That's why Arman can show solid CO2 on a what do you call it, a snap of a finger. Because we have no fear of sharing knowledge. It's for humanity. And this is becoming, the people who think around us and the way we do are coming around very, 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 very fast. As I said, the biggest problem for the foundation is a few with the titles of P, F, and the R in front of them, because people, they think they understand. They don't understand that these people are the biggest problem to themselves. Professors and doctors are the biggest enemy of their own life. They don't agree with it, but once they go sick, they come to the foundation asking for help. I have to tell you something, I think it's a very good news. As you know, we have found a full solution for side effects of chemotherapy. We announced this past year and a half that we were trialing, the trial was going on. This week, I think the gentleman, the doctor who's listening, his father was part of the process of the trial. He's a doctor himself, or is becoming a doctor himself, and the father is a dentist. And we have done a trial on reversing or stabilizing the side effect of the chemotherapy. The doctor himself will make the video explaining everything from the beginning as a testimonial, and will be submitted with all the data on the Keshe Foundation website. It's for the authorities to assess and evaluate the release. I hope he can do it within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I have asked Dr. Elia and a neurosurgeon professor who was with us last week in Barry, they can participate in writing the paper, or the doctor will do it himself. So this becomes one of the first medical papers, or what do you call it, testimonials done by the supporters of the foundation who have used the technology themselves. So we will go this way, then you can contact the doctors or pharmaceuticals who make the chemotherapy systems to reduce the side effects and allow the chemotherapy to work 100% without any side effects. This video should be done within the coming weeks, and we will release it on the Keshe Foundation as testimonial, done by the doctors and with the support of the chemotherapy surgery and the company in Germany. They each participate in explaining what they've seen and what has happened, and how we managed to stabilize chemo back into a healthy body after the chemotherapy. These are the way we start working, letting the scientists to release their finding. And then there is no need for peer review. Peer review is a way of control. Then if anybody wants to know, they can go on the internet and peer review the Keshe Foundation. Yes,
Mr.
Rick.
Keshe, along those lines, there is a question regarding whether GANs can be used for addictions. I think you've talked about that a bit before, and it's probably a similar circumstance that it needs to be checked with the professionals and so on. But could you talk about that briefly?
Uh, in the trials, which we did not go for addiction, we went for other processes which addiction was part of the I cannot say. Let me explain to you what has happened in the cases we've seen. People have had what they call incurable conditions for years, 10, 20 years. They've been in pain due to accident, a stroke or whatever, and to overcome some of the pain, they have taken into drugs, or they become addicted to different type of drugs to reduce the pain and the suffering. And when they come to us for as what I call volunteers for the research, we did not set the system up to reverse the addiction, but as part of the process, one of the first things we've seen is the rejection of the addiction, and then we realized there is a process in this. And there are cups which can be produced for this. There are people who are conditioned to the addiction of different kind of drugs and alcohol, and it's very much on trial basis. It needs a much more research, but we've seen, yes, you can reduce. In 2 or 3 cases, we've seen within a week, people can't even touch cocaine. They go sick, they can't even touch a cigarette which they've been smoking. They take coke as part of reducing the pain. They take weed to reduce their physical pain, which is done by a lot of people who are use soft drugs for masking the pain. And in cases we know that people can't even touch a cigarette, it makes them sick. This is part of the job, which goes back to the work of Dr. Elia once we opened the health section of the foundation in the university. What the plan is overall is that at least, this is what we discussed when I was talking to the university people. In the first year, we teach everything to the first year students. You come in, you want to be specialized in the medical side, but as in the space, you are part of the teaching of the space technology. We teach you everything. You have to learn from material to medical to energy to plasma control, and then you specialize on. I made this mistake when the knowledge seekers came here. I assumed that they did understood because they came here and I thought they read the books and they understood. But we realized we teach everything, especially to the youngsters. Then they might change or they might see connection in different sides. The way at the moment the teaching program is that we teach every day from 10 to 1 and 5 days a week, and each day is allocated to one subject. Energy, medical, or whatever. So in the course of the first year, you get educated every day in one subject on a specific day. For example, Mondays will be for the medical, and Tuesdays for energy. So then you see how you can connect and how you can relate the new technology in developing different things. And part of this, to me, energy and energy consumption in the body and the lack of energy in the body leads to addictions, acceptance of release of pain, which leads to addiction to different materials, or even the body itself produces materials, which is the same as drugs, to mask the pain. We see this a lot in fibromyalgia. So addiction is not just to drugs, addiction is to the working of the body itself in producing materials to mask pains and other things. A lot of addiction in the body shows itself later on when the balance of the addiction changes into cancer cells. Part of the addiction we see in the process, which is masked, is when you see cancer in one organ and then you see in other organ, they call it the secondary, as I explained before, is already started altogether. But the body uses masking of like drugs not to show it in certain organs till it reaches a saturation point and then we see it. So when we see, for example, cancer in the stomach, if we do a specific test, we already see the existence of this in liver and in limbs. But what the doctors say is that now the cancer has a spread. The cancer never spread, it was there from the beginning. We had a pleasure yesterday with Armin in looking at a case which we see the lymph system in absolute perfect operation, but cancer in organs. I tell you, I also always say God brings us gifts to see the new way of doing things. And this case is so important for us. I've been thinking about it most of the night last night. Because now we know the lymph system, even with chemotherapy, the lymph system is strong, is holding on, is doing its operation perfectly. Where in the case we did in Germany, we had to strengthen the lymph, the immune system, to be able to overcome the side effect of chemo. In this case, the chemo has not touched the immune system. But the cancer is growing as an entity in different organs. But through other tests, trials we've seen. And this is how the body produces different drugs to mask. It's like addiction. And now we should be able, hopefully, to do something positive in this case. And then we can show how different cancers can be done without this. She's had a chemo, she has the removal of organs, and still are in other places is showing itself. Because they've been there. But the body produces a specific type of drugs that it does not show manifest itself till the parotid glands allows the manifestation and the thymus allows the solidification. So we don't look at the addiction just as drugs. The body is one of the biggest drug producers itself in its own term. These are all part of the research. This all goes back to Dr. Elia and Professor Litsi and other doctors, medical people who joined the foundation.
That reminds me, Elia mentioned in the chat, addiction to love. Is that something that's curable with Gans?
This is hair disease.
There's many women that have that disease, and some men even.
Yeah, but this is not a disease. Love, as I put into one of the communication recently, love is the attributes of God which is given to man, and it's for man to use it to benefit and elevate the man's soul, not to use it as a weapon. And a lot of men and women use love by withdrawing it or withholding it as a way to control. But if you can love freely, then there's no addiction. It's part of the process and is one of the attributes of the Creator.
Okay, well, the question might be, what is love?
Love, as I explained to you before, is giving from your soul unconditionally without expecting any return.
Okay, but is it a force or is it a substance?
You want to measure?
Can you
meter for it?
Quantify it in some way?
Yeah, if you want a meter for it, we'll ask Professor Litsi, as Marco says, to build one for you. And then you can go to doctors, how much am I in love with? And then
Well, a love meter, you would have a really hot selling product. I think everybody would
actually, you
want one.
can do it. It's not that difficult. If you understand the process of the Gans, then somebody tells you, I love you, says, can we measure it? We go
There
to the
should be a response in the GANs at that point, the same as water, structured water supposedly responds to if you write love onto the container that it's contained in.
let me explain to you scientifically how you measure the state time, the length, and the power of love. Love is the only connected to the emotional part which connects to the physicality through the heart. So you can measure them, you can physically measure the state of a love in respect to two people in their blood. It'll be a new tool in the armament of the doctors. Very easy.
You say, wait a minute, you just said we could measure love in the blood? Is that what
Of
you said?
course. Of course.
Okay.
Go back to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
medical teaching. Go back to the medical teaching. If you remember with Dr. Elia, I don't know which one is regarding the heart. I think it's 7th or 8th teaching. We explain that the heart is connection between the physicality and emotional. And the blood is part of the feeding the emotional part of the body of the man. So when the supply comes, it's like a temperature. If the boiler is hot, you measure the water by the water which comes out of the tank. Huh? So it shouldn't be hard to measure how much you are in love.
We
You
do
just
have
got
the
to
saying,
measure.
someone is hot-blooded if they are passionate, if they have a lot of that kind of emotional, at least
Yeah. But the
that
thing
kind
is,
of love.
don't forget, this goes back to the physicality again. You can even measure who you're going to be in love with. The woman can say, I'm in love with you, darling, but she's thinking of the boyfriend. So very easily you can measure it because the love has a magnetic gravitational field strength and it has to match the gravitational magnetic field strength of the another blood and a heart tissues. It's very, very simple. You cannot attract magnet of a metal that attracts wood. You understand? These are the new ways of stop stealing. Because once you know your love can be measured, you cannot lie. And now, then when you don't lie, you cannot steal. Then you become honest with yourself. I told you the process is so deep that if you tell people what's going to do to them, women become the biggest opposition to this technology. Because now their hands gets opened up. And a man. You can ask, if you're in love with me, can we measure it? It's very easy, blood and a heart. We call it the love tester. This is the physicality of the new dimension in technology. Because love is, we feel it by the heart, because our amino acid in conjunction with the magnetic field which the heart produces interacts and attracts specific fields. And that specific field is usually carried by one other entity, which matches us and we fall in love with, which means we match. It's a magnet for the same interaction, same tuning. Only you can tune to radio at frequency 101 if you go to the frequency 10. If you're on 102, you can't hear it. It's the same with love, but it comes from the emotion. And usually, the emotional part of a relationship is the man, but the talking about it and physicality of it is the woman. They take it from the man and they reverse it back as is theirs. And I've discussed this a lot before, the emotional part of a relationship is the man. The physical part of a relationship in carrying on the emotion is the woman. That's why they bear children. And you can measure it. This will bring a lot of truth in the future, that a lot of adulteries will stop because you can measure it. And you can see who's falling in love when and how lower the measure of love has come. Then man stays straight and honest with himself. This is
Mr. Keshe, can you explain how, like, it seems that it's been said, for example, like the essence or soul or spark of our soul, let's say, our essence, um, the essence of a male is actually female, and the essence of a female is male, and that maybe when we are incarnated into this world, we desire the opposite that we are, and so we end up being incarnated in the opposite that we were last time, kind of thing. Does that make some sense, or is that totally crazy?
I don't believe in reincarnation as a totality, even though we are part of another body in the universe. As I said, we've been part of another entity somewhere in the life of the universes. We haven't reincarnated, but we join another group to become a new club. We call it the human body.
Right. In a way, we can never get out of our body because everywhere is our body, in a sense.
We always join another club. When we finish with this club, we join another club. There is a club of a worm, or we become a club of a bird, or we become part of the club of the amino acid, become oil and we get burned like dinosaurs, as they say. It's just changing state of physicality presentation. But reincarnation as the same does not happen. It's impossible to bring two cells back together. If you are eaten, one half of you, part of you is eaten by one bird and the other one by a rabbit, where are you going to put the two together to reincarnate? Impossible. It's absolute impossibility. But we carry our emotions and our feelings due through our RNA to the animal which we become. So when a bird eats a worm and eats thousands of worms, it carries a collection of the information of within the RNA of the worm, which was part of the body of a man, and then part of the body of a dog, or whatever it is. Our soul stays independent, but our physicality has never been and shall never be the same. Reincarnation does not exist. You might feel a feeling of a bird because the bird you ate the one which ate the man. So you carry both the RNA information of the man, the bird, and the animal you ate. But the soul stays independent. Soul never dies, but the souls merge to make a master soul. Because the totality is the strength. It's very much like the energies which you collect as a plasma from different reactors into the free plasma. You can never differentiate which plasma, which part of it came from which reactor. But in totality, they make a new mass and a new soul. The ones who speak about reincarnation, what would you like to be reincarnated? Because you've been eaten by so many different animals on the way. We carry the RNA, it cannot be destroyed. RNA is carried on by the amino acid which is consumed, and in most cases it leads to nothing because it becomes part of the structure. Reincarnation is impossibilities, but in man interacting with a man as a human, man and a woman, when we call man, we call it totality of a race. But when a man and a woman create a child, the total RNA of both the man and a woman on all their ancestors beyond till the point of reference, common reference, where they go back to the same mother and the same father, will be added to the RNA of the child. If you marry two cousins which came from the same parents and same grandparents, the RNA addition is only the two children till they had the child, or the grandchildren when they had a child. Because from then on, all the parents and grandparents are the same. So the information is what has come up the line. And that's why we see diseases in intermarriages heavily, because there is no deviation in the information carried. Like in Jewish religion, an uncle, the brother of mother, can marry the daughter of the sister. The cycle is zero. Only the life of the addition information from the, what do you call it, the daughter or the nephew comes in. In Islam, two cousins can meet and can marry. In some religions, they don't allow intermarriage. And as we know with the research from NASA, we need some 240, if I'm correct, different races to have a good gene bank in space. But the question comes, did Noah come with 244 people? Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
It says simultaneously one and yet different. Exactly. There is a important thing to understand. Dr. Elia writes, yes, physics depends on what model of car body is useful for some conditions of existence. It's not the model, it's the soul which is needed. The model can be 2015, but the body can be from last century. Who carries soul? No one. Souls has an independent entity. Soul exists outside the physicality. That's why it's not touched by the demise of physicality.
So would it be true that our attention can either be rooted in the physicality or it can be rooted in the soul?
The physicality affects the work of the soul through emotion, but in a very limited way. You can add to it, but you cannot steal from it. And that's why the soul can give to emotion directly, because it's always freely available. The physicality is connection between entities. The soul is connection between the creation, which is non-dimensional.
Brett mentioned as your soul grows, you move on to new states and life. Would that be true?
No. If you are given souls, a part of some, and what do you call it, a strength, what do you call it, from other souls, your strength allows you to see different dimensions in the dimension of the souls. as we have different races, there are dimensions in the dimension of the souls too. What we call the first grade and the second grade and the graduates. There is very few levels, but then the tops are the ones who give more unconditionally to the bottoms, to the others who are just developing or being developed. And if the ones who receive it want to replicate, then they can, what do you call it, make it available for the stronger souls to have access to theirs, to strengthen themselves. And the top sits as the creator, is one and only, which what do you call it, encompasses the whole.
Okay, can I ask a big question here, which is
Don't ask me.
we've talked about the human suffering, and everybody talks about saving people and saving humans and saving the earth and saving all of that, and the suffering on the planet and the suffering of humans and the other beings. But what about the suffering of the absolute, or the what we call God?
God does not suffer.
There's no suffering in any manner. No.
No.
What about the sheer loneliness of being nothing other than God everywhere around?
Who said he's lonely?
I don't know. I'm not talking to him, so I'm not sure.
You never know, you might have. And who says he's
Well,
lonely?
that's likely true.
He always has, have, and will have a partner. The essence of love does not come from individuality. You have to have it to give it to someone who can appreciate it and replicate it back.
Okay, but let's say in terms of the creator, if the creator is always creating, there's either the creator and then there's the created, or the creation. And so, in a sense, the creator is separated from the creation.
In a way, yes. And in a way, with the love which he gives, he tries to correct. It's very much like a mother who has a husband as a lover, somebody who loves and loves back. And at the same time, there are the children that she loves too. She sees the children suffering, but she cannot do much except giving them love. And it's the same with the father. And that process is very much the same at the level of the creator and the creation.
Doesn't that cause some form of suffering, that to give, that always be giving, but not receiving back, really, as the creator?
No, not really. It does not create that kind of problem. That problem doesn't exist because the totality gives back enough to justify the suffering. That is worth it to give unconditionally. The soul of the man is very weak. And one day, when the totality comes, they might see the light of the truth. What do you call, we have replicated this recently, and it's come to a standstill. One day I explain. The love of creator is always accompanied with the love of a partner, and that cannot be diminished. That's how he knows what love is and how to give. And he cannot create without a equal partner. Individuality comes from the totality, not from singleness. And the totality is the created. There is no mystery in the world of creation. It's man who's made it difficult, or the ones who were given the message made it impossible for man to understand. It's in the writing of the Holy Script. It's in essence, it says, I made you to make children that they may love me. That by the love I receive, I know what to give and how much to give, and I have more to give. So it's a way of converting system, it's a conversion. You convert the plasma of a Gans into energy to make a free plasma. The love of God is the same. It creates, it gives for it to be created, that it can feed back itself, that it can give more. But in essence, nothing changes from its structure.
Elia has a statement or a question here about, sir, could you explain the main point of the core team, how people are able to reach each other's soul and work like a team?
First of all, people who are not familiar with a core team is made of 12 individuals who they physically volunteer to be as part of what I call the structure for physicality of man, to be able to find a support in what they need in their level of soul. Unfortunately, the core team who came forward first, they thought they did it themselves, but fortunately these are the souls which were what I call allocated and were already destined to be in that position. They have in essence understood and been part of the structure in the past. The core team job is not to guide the physicality, but to make accessible the what I call the energies and the directions for the soul of the man, and whatever the creations are when they are needed and they ask for guidance or for resources. Up to now, the core team is not elected, it's appointed by the souls. And those who understand the work, in time they appoint another physicality which the soul is already predestined to be available for that job. So whoever in a physical term of the 12 core team leaves the physicality of the man, they have already appointed the physicality of another man or a person or entity, be it of the human or not. But these are the souls which have access to and collectively able to support the soul of the man, that through it they support the emotion, and then through the emotion support the physicality. The core team has no power over physical man, but has access to give enough that the man does not make the mistakes of the past in a physical term. And that's their job. They are known to the foundation. It's for them, there is a discussion in the background if they want to be known publicly or not. They will not, and their word belongs to them, not the foundation. And you cannot come and beg, can you give me some soul, I need some. The work is very clear. They are there to give because they are at the level of the physicality of the man, and they are what I call tuned to 101 frequency of the human being. And other souls, if they can tune to it, they can benefit by their presence and their what I call their energy. And they are not special, they not become disciples, and they have no priority over anybody else. So is what I call the core, because this is the foundation of human being soul. You can devote, give to the core, and even them they need to receive to be able to elevate, and through it they have the power to do so. They are the free givers and the foundation of the peace on this planet, and no more. That's why we said we try to reach the soul of the man, that through the soul we can achieve peace. And these are the elements and the tools for that job. They are special in their own way, but they still live and work amongst you like any other things. They go through their own physical suffering and their souls, what do you call it, joys. But their soul has, they have offered their souls to support the others to have the pleasure of peace. There are two center cores, which in time, with the physicality of two center cores, this position will be released. There is a discussion if they want to release their name, the 12 members, and once it's done, no threats, nothing can affect them, and their position is sacrosanct. They cannot be replaced, they cannot be elected. But at the same time, they know they cannot speak on behalf of their core, or what they say is according to what their understanding is. And you cannot appoint one and beg one and borrow one. At the same time, we are teaching more and more to them what their position is, and in time everything is more or less in writing or recorded, that in the future the future members of the core understand the principle and details of the working. They do not necessarily need to be of a human race, and at the same time they do not need to be on earth to be a member of the core. As I said, a brother can be on earth and the other brother can be on the other side of the galaxy. They are still connected. The same connection applies to the member of the core. In the coming days, they have to make a decision if they want to be known. Some have a fear of security, but there is no need for fear, as you have already given your soul. And the only thing we ask is to respect their position. They are not martyrs and they are not saints. They are there to serve, to give, and they never ask for anything back. They have access to resources, which in a way they are conversion machines from a bigger to smaller, that it makes it easier for the humanity to be able to be fed. Does not matter where they are in the universe. We are making all the preparation for man to join the universal community in the correct way, and this is part of the structure. The 12 become part of the Council for Universal Connection, and in time they will understand their responsibility. Any other question?
I did wonder what you thought of the animation that I'll put on now, which is a new one from the animation team. Can you see the live stream there, Mr. Keshe?
Yeah, it's a blue screen, that's all we see. Oh yeah, the red and blue.
There's one-dimensional, two-dimensional positioning.
You have a fantastic animation team. I love the things they do. They make knowledge. Something you have to do as a team, you got to make these available for the teachings in the new university. These will help a lot in the teaching, and we need somebody who understands these to be in the teaching team in the university. When these things done, you know where they are, you know what it is. It's fantastic.
Yes, we're getting lots of good, positive feedback from these various animations. Jeff is responsible for these, but it actually takes a team to work out the details of how to visualize how this could actually look like. And And it's difficult initially because you start with a blank slate, and we have to be able to see sort of how to represent it. So it's an interesting process to see the team going through that.
It's very nice. A lot of work you've done is fantastic in what is coming. The guy says, is Zing Dong. He says, okay, 4:40 a.m. I'm cooked pumpkin. Good night. I hope you're well cooked.
It is coming up on almost 3 hours coming up here soon. So I don't know how you're feeling, Mr. Keshe, but
it's okay. I think we have made a lot of things clear, and please start research and and start opening the technology away from just the reactors. It's you who have to start to bring new dimensions in. There are a lot of applications, especially there's a lot of people who talk about the chemtrails, for example, adding CO2 as part of the structure of the fuel. Do not forget, I used to be in the oil industry in a very different way than normal. If you add CO2 as part of the chemtrail, you literally dissolve back the chemtrails into CO2 and with no side effect. The CO2 tools are new energy resources. You have to explore how you want to use the sun. You want to use the sun to have a suntan, or you want to use the sun to collect energy to run a turbine as a solar cell. The Gans of materials are miniature suns with different energies. This is the extension to your knowledge. Do not look that the CO2 Gans gives you the same energy as copper oxide or as a Gans of gold. If you're looking for more powerful systems, you go into a different dimension use of the Gans. Start mixing Ganses, start making layers that separates the Ganses but with the same behavior. It's very much like a neurosystem and the nerves. They're both Ganses, but they run parallel in each other in the structure of the man, but they do different jobs. And together, when the nerves and the limbs as another Gans and the blood system fields interacts, dictates the creation of the certain organs. Start adding to the knowledge. Do not just become, as I said, photocopying things. This is what is needed now. In 2015 is not the time of copying anymore. We done enough, we understood. We all know how to drill a hole and get to oil. Now is how we want to produce different materials from this oil. Oil is a source of energy, and this is what the Gans is. In 1972, the ex-Shah of Iran said that why should people pay $2.50 per barrel of oil when now they make 20,000 different components from it. In past 40 years, I think by now we make hundreds of thousands of different components from the same material. The CO2, the gas, is the same state. If you understand the structure and the work of the sun, how is energy converts into different matters and into different being that becomes a human being or other beings on this solar system, now you have access to the same sun, but in a miniature size. Make new materials, go extend the knowledge. There is no pattern to stop you and there is no limitation. And what you learn, you can share and maybe financially be benefited by it. This is the whole work of the 2015. We done the groundwork. We have done the teaching, and we'll carry on adding to the knowledge. From now on is extending the tentacles of the knowledge in different directions, and see how we can collaborate one from the energy into the medicine, from medicine into motion and the others. Do not look as just rotating the Gans. Look at how the Gans rotates within the structure of different materials. Don't look at it as a solid entity. Look at it as a dynamic entity which you never had access to. On one side you can have heat, on one side if you organize it, you can have cold. On one side you can create food, and on another side you can absorb food. This is exactly what your body does. We are not telling you anything different. It's just understanding the structure and how to position it.
Mr. Keshe, I think there's a question here from Ivan. He has a picture that I was asked to show, and it's regarding layers and this sun-like object with a bunch of figures on it there.
Yeah. Hello.
Can you explain, Ivan, or does that
Hello
sound
everybody.
okay now?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, carry on.
Yes, it's good.
Actually, this is not about the layering. Actually, I want to understand the principle of the positioning of a system. So here in my drawing, if I just understand correct, please correct me when I'm wrong. So basically, if I understand correct, all the plasma field has a magnetic and gravitational field, where the gravitational field I call here X and the magnetic I. So in all system, X will be more than I, if the gravitational is always stronger than the
X is
magnetic.
your gravitational. Is X your
Yes,
gravitational? Okay.
yes.
There is a limit where there is a 0 point or balance point, and there is a limit where there is an effective point.
May I continue, because I just put the drawing in a
Okay.
specific thing.
Okay.
So
carry on.
if we put a scale from 10 to 1, coming from the center of the field, out of atmospheric condition, I mean here 1 to 10 is the atmosphere where they are in balance, the fields.
One
So
is the
if we,
atmosphere. Yeah. Let's go slowly. One is the
from 1 to 10
atmosphere.
is the atmosphere. No, from 1 to 10, I mean. So
One is
the
the
other is where it's
atmosphere.
not in balance.
One is the atmosphere, upper atmosphere, and 5 is internal, and 10 is the center. Yeah?
Yes, I mean, if we come from the center of the plasma, when it comes to
Okay.
5 to 1, the magnetic and the gravitational field go together in balance, I mean, to this point.
Yeah. Okay.
So, where I was, because I write this question, because, so it's the atmosphere. So, basically, if we have a plasma with the name K, where we have X7 and I5, I mean, gravitational field 7 and magnetic field 5, the difference between them is going to be 2. So, they're going to position in this atmosphere where is the 2 point. It's going to go in this position, correct? If the K is a
Yes.
free plasma. Okay,
Yes.
so if I add a field to K, if air coming to K, like extra field with X2 and I1, actually the difference is 1. So actually I'm adding 1 gravitational field to K, and then K is going to move in the zone 3 near to the center, correct?
You got to remember one thing, that the gravitational magnetic field in zone 2, the balance of it is not the same as gravitational magnetic field in zone 5, the balance of it, just because the numbers add up.
Mm-hmm. I
So
just
if
wanted
you
to
look at
understand
your
the
number
principle.
5, let me explain. If you look at your number 5, your X is, for example, 1,000, your Y is 20. In 1, your X is, let's say, 300, but your Y is 1,000. This is the way the plasma spreads. In the center, needs and has the collection of all the fields plus what comes in from the entry point of the plasma. Where at the boundary, you're looking at the two-dimensional. At the boundary in the equator, this might be applicable. Where, for example, between 3 and 4 is the surface of the planet, is the tangibility point. Because the physical, the gravitational and magnetical are in balance towards the gravity. On number 1, the magnetical and gravitational are in balance in respect to magnetical. That's why you have the physical, every entity has a physical detection point, like the surface of the Earth, and then it has a magnetical field presentation, which is the atmosphere. And when the two are in position of the balance, then you reach the material status. You manifest yourself as an entity to the point of the observer. Where, for example, between 3 and 4, you are physically can be detected by the human amino acid, and between 1 and 2, you are physically detectable by another creature with different amino acid. But in fact, you're all looking at the same plasma. You still see the operation of hydrogen, for example, but hydrogen in different level of strength. Because from the point of the observation, you are looking at the same mass. It's the strength of the mass which counts, not the manifestation and visualization and detection point.
Does that mean that in the atmosphere, where we say that the fields are in balance, this means that they're in different balance in every point of the atmosphere?
Yes, of course.
Between the X and Y.
Of
Mm-hmm.
course. And then
Okay.
when you try to do a three-dimensional GPS positioning in the universe, you have to find a balance in respect to all the fields in that position. We cannot send a satellite all over the universe for us to be able to find out where we are. We probe into the magnetic gravitational field, the strength of the position we want to be. We probe into the further distance with a stronger point from that point. We target ourselves to the point of the strength where it lands off in the position of the desired destination. What this means is, if you want to go, let's say, to 1,000 or 10,000 kilometers from the surface of the moon, you measure the point you want to be, but you put your target point, the moon, where the balance position sits at the
Right,
point
this
of
is
the
what the animation, this is the animation that we just showed from Geoff. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Not really.
Well, it is. It's positioning. If you want to position that free plasma, then you have to increase the gravity, gravitation on one, and increase the magnetism or the
It
magnetical on the
is,
other.
yeah,
So
you
you're finding
see,
a position. You're finding that balance, right? This is creating that balance. But when you're positioning in the universe, you have to find that balance first to create it.
that's
Right?
very
You
true.
have to have that balance.
But then you control this with the field strength which you exert or you extract from your plasma of the upper reactor. In the coming time, is part of the control system. I will explain. Once you start connecting your reactors the right way and balance the fields inside them, the control of the speed of the extraction or absorption of the fields by the free plasma and its position is very much can be dictated by the rotation of the plasma in the upper core, in the principal core on the top. This is part of the rapid change of direction. This is what you see in rapid disappearing of what you call UFOs that are light and then they disappear. They don't disappear, they just tune to a higher magnetic field strength by the what we call plasmatic compression of the gravitational magnetic field. And this gives a new position in respect where they chose to be. You never see vertical takeoff. It's always with an angle of within 3 to 5 degrees. And it's always, when you enter in an environment, you already prior choose the path of escape or removal from a position. One of the reasons we have chosen Barry as a point of work for us is because the university has a land by the sea where we do the landing and testing of the new systems, mainly on the water for submergence. Because in the water we have a constant environment, where in the air we don't have that. In a liquid state, the conditions are more stable than in the air condition. So we can do tests, and if in a coming time you come to around where the tests are done, you will see, this is beautiful, this animation, I can see it. What you will see, a light which merges from the water in the twisting vortex, where the base of the vortex sits in the water and not on the craft. I've seen this a lot of times. Now, in the coming time, we show you. Marco is working on the basic structure of this at the moment before he leaves, and now we carry on with it now that he's back. Then, when you submerge in the water, you already predestine your position to the moon. That in case of, let's say, anything happens, you can extract yourself immediately. You don't sit for pre-planned what I'm going to do next. You already choose a path, a distance, position. It's a beautiful animation I see.
Yes, I think Jeff did it specifically for Marco to try to educate people of what Marco was doing. So this is based off of Marco's work.
You've seen it. Marco has built a bubble. We have to control it, we have to adjust it. And then we have a facility at the moment before we move down south of a very large swimming pool and a pool that we can submerge in. And if we don't do it here, we'll do it in 2 or 3 weeks' time in the south. The whole process is not to submerge. Submerging is very easy. You have seen the weight increase from, what was it, 11.6 down to 10 and then 10 something and then back to 13, 14. That 13, 14 is the submergence, you go down. In a way, having a way out of it, you find a new position. Elia has put, it says, like my experience in basement of ferry under a storm. I think she will explain to you what happened to her. I think she had to go through this experience. Can I explain, Elia, what happened to you? Like in deep space. What happened? Says yes, sir. What happened? Elia was during the holidays on her way from Greece to Bari to be with us over the holidays, and as you know, just around after Christmas or so, a ferry caught fire on the sea between Greece and Italy, and she was on the next day freight, and what happened, she gets into the boat. It only happens with the Italian crew, never ever anywhere else. And as her and her daughter parked their car in the bed, they were told where to park the car in the basement of the ferry. They lock everything up, they put the cages up, or what do you call it, the walls for balance or whatever they do. And her with her daughter get isolated in a cubicle of 3 cars in the basement, literally at the bottom of the ferry between Greece and Italy. She spent about 10 hours with her daughter in her car in a little cage right at the bottom of the ferry. And she, instead of, as usual, people shout and howl, being typical Elia, she says, okay, we use this as experience. If we are in the space, how are we going to feel? So they pre-tested with her daughter how they will feel on their own in the space, and they spend 10, 12 hours in a capsule. And Italian crew never found out, with hundreds of people on board, they never even considered there could be somebody trapped at the bottom. And so she says she had the experience of deep space, being with her daughter in the car for nearly 10, 12 hours on their own. And she said the good thing is God, I think in a way, loved them, because when people came down and the walls were pulled up, they were all yellow in face because the sea was so rough, they were all sick. But them being in the bottom, they never felt any of it. They could feel the up and down, but they never felt the seasickness. So she had the pre-trial space travel in the basement, thanks to the Italian ferry company. So this only happens in Italy. So she says, tell them how I orientated for a time and a space. Elia, you better come online and speak. Is she on the line? She's on the Skype.
You mentioned there was a lot of noise in the background. That's why she didn't want to speak earlier, I think. But I don't
Okay,
know
let her speak. It doesn't matter. She can explain it herself. Elia, you can come online. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, hello. Just it's so noisy around me, and I don't want to interrupt the speaking. That's why. Okay, I will try. So it's interesting was the feeling, because they look it up us in the basement of the ferry, and actually we look it up. It's not only on the old space of the basement. It was between 2 hydraulic doors, and the space was actually like 4 meter up to 2 meters, like dimensional, like a cube, and you are sitting inside of the car, but actually you are in the metallic construction. It's everything around you. It is only 1 cup of air. It is not noise. You don't know where you are and what is the time and when the ferry just going to the next destination, because actually because of the storm, the ferry just delayed to come from Italy, and then delayed to go back to the Italy, and they put all the cars first, and after that the trucks and everything. And when they look it up on that space, I had no idea when the ferry just going, or where we are in the middle of the sea, or we are close to some part of the continent in one side or other side, and any noise. But I recognize around me have a lot of pools to manage the doors and all the how they call in English, the where you are able to open the door automatically or manually. And I decide that is good for me. I have everything around me, and if I supposed to be here, so I supposed to experience something. And luckily, I have so brave child, and she was agree with me. And we have a water, we have food. So for us was just some kind of to make a game and to see what we are able to do and how we are able to feel. So we just lie down in the car, how much we are able to be in the horizontal platform inside of the car, and start to recognize where we are regarding the feeling of our back, how the ferry just floating inside of the sea. And actually was the huge storm. Our ferry was the next one, the first one just burning inside of the sea, if probably most of you just saw in the news. And the next one ferry was our ferry. And they said after that, I just hear in the port in Italy when I arrived there, that the waves was actually like 50 meters high. And the feeling is you just jump and you just generate some kind of speed, and then is nothing. And the sea and the feeling like you are in nowhere, in zero gravity. It's different between what you see when they train the cosmonauts. It's like they're flying inside of the capsule, but we are not flying, but the feeling is the same. And you're not able to recognize where you are on the top of the waves, or you're just is this on the beginning when you're going down of the waves. And when you are inside of the sea, and the waves are so huge, and you feel, how to explain it, you feel like you are in the space where is nothing around you. And actually when the ferry starts to reach other part of the continent, the form, the shape, and the feeling of the waves is completely different. You feel more attracted to the each wave. Actually, when waves start to interact with the earth, they became more stronger. And when the wave is inside of the sea, it is mostly water around, they are more soft. And there goes like actually like waves when you listen the music and oscillator or equalizer showing you the waves. And this is the same soft, smoothly feeling. Doesn't matter they are so high or they're so rough. And when the waves reach the earth, they start to be more hard. And even the wave is not that much high, the feeling of the crash between the ferry and the wave is more hard feeling. It is not that much soft. But interesting, it was not that only that, but the feeling how you are not able to recognize where you are, and what is the time you are exist or not exist, and how much you will exist, and how to predict if something's gone wrong. You are able to manage your emotions and to organize yourself to escape. And it's not only you, but the person next to you also. It is really so interesting, because on that time you're supposed to organize yourself to think, to feel, and actually to manage the whole situation in different direction. And one part is just to collect some kind of feelings like a knowledge. Another part is just to think how you're able logically and material way to manage the situation for emergency. For example, is our ferry also burning, or we just floating inside of the sea? How I'm like a mother, I'm able to survive my kid in emergency. It's like I'm scientific person, but other part of me it's mother, so I have to survive my kids. It was really interesting, and I think I have to write somewhere to not forget what I really experienced it on that time. Thank you. That was
Great story, Elia. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Keshe, it's
Yeah,
been 3 hours and 15 minutes. How do you feel about
we are
should we wrap
okay.
it
We
up?
can stop. We wrap it up. That's no problem. There is something, please. Is it possible to sort out our teaching from next week regarding the Chinese and medical and the rest, that we bring it into 1 day or 2 days, at least in the afternoons, then mornings, that we can merge our work into the work of the university in the coming weeks. We need to organize the teachings. If we can bring the Chinese and Spanish and Italian into one afternoon, that we finish by 5 o'clock. And we still carry on with the Thursday mornings, because then this is a fixture that he has become accustomed to and we can keep on with. If you understand.
How about the health workshop? Would that be part
Health
of that
workshop,
schedule too? And the
yes,
kids,
we need to do it in 1 or 2 days.
and the kids
We
workshop too is in there, so that would have
yeah,
to be
we
part of
got
that.
to, maybe we accommodate 1 day or 2 days, because once we start teaching university on Thursday mornings, we have to find a way as total teaching, but as long as we can keep the Thursday mornings going, we carry on, or we have to allocate it, relocate it a few hours further on or earlier on. But it's now, with the opening of the university, becomes impossible to do all the live teachings as we've done. Or maybe we find a part of the teachings that everybody can teach, but we need different languages on, because we learn different things from their experiments and their work.
I wonder if we could do one sort of international workshop, but in different parts, perhaps, so that people can participate in other languages even.
Maybe that's a good idea. We put like Tuesday afternoons all together, from Spanish 1 hour and Chinese 1 hour, or if they want to give a time to each other. And we have to organize this somehow, and most probably in the coming time, the knowledge seekers will take over the teaching time. And all will not be done, because I'm sure the medical parts can be done in some occasions by Elia, and Marco and Arman and others will do the same. You got to organize,
Okay.
speak, if you
Yep,
can
we'll
make a
work on that.
conference call, you got to make a conference call between all the groups and see what it can be done, or how you come totally in a good agreement between each other.
I don't know if
We
I
are
could
doing,
handle a conference call with all the groups. It sounds pretty scary,
no, it's
especially when
just
you had the Italian group in there. That's like a whole group in itself. But yeah, I know what you mean. We'll get representatives from
We
the
can get on
groups.
it.
We'll get on it. That's right. We'll figure
we're
it out.
working on it. Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay,
great.
let's see what happens. Thank you very much for today.
Yes,
I
thank
hope
you. Thank
we
you. It was
added to
great.
knowledge a little bit more today, but that is our pattern. Try to, as I said, extend the knowledge beyond the reactors and in the everyday application. Don't have a fear of CO2. It's part of your structure, part of what you eat and breathe every day. There is enough CO2 Gans in your lungs every second that you cannot produce in your systems for a year. The CO2 doesn't appear out of your, what do you call it, your mouth, you exhale on its own. It's converted from the Gans state into the matter state, so it's part of your body. It's not a fear, it's try to understand all the working of it.
Okay, and as a passing comment, I see in the live stream, Doug McDonald says, this 45th workshop will go up in history.
We don't know how it'll go up.
Yeah, it may be infamous rather than famous, but hey, it'll
Let's
make
see
an
what happens.
impact one way or another. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Keshe.
much indeed. Thank you indeed. Thanks for your time. We'll speak on Monday. I don't know if it's Chinese or Italian. We learn the language.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Bye.
Rick, can we talk after this meeting? Vincent?
Yes, just let me end the
Let's
live
just,
stream, please. Here.
yeah.
Okay, so I think we're done this end of things, and this is the end of the 45th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Thank you once again, everyone within the sound of my voice, and even not, for attending.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, everybody.